Hello, Lightworkers. Welcome. We're having a very special event, one that's very dear to my heart, called Addictions and Compulsive Behavior. What this is all about, according to the group, and how we can work with it. You know, the actual figures are kind of scary when it comes to addictions. And we're not just talking about alcohol or drugs or things of that nature. We're actually going to go into quite a bit of depth about addictions to technology, addictions to sex, addictions to food, all the typical addictions that we have here, what that's about from the group's perspective, and what we can do about it. Now, I have to tell you, and those of you who've read my first book, remember, probably already know that I am actually a recovering alcoholic myself. It's been about 35 years, so I haven't had to deal with it lately, but I learned a lot about addictions and how we approach that. And then when the group came in, after about 15 years of my sobriety, they basically changed a whole lot of my view of what this was all about. And they gave me all kinds of ideas that I didn't have in the beginning of my own sobriety. Well, it's gone a lot now because it's not just about addictions in those natures. But I have to tell you, the actual figures are 1 out of 7. 1 out of 7 people experiences compulsive behavior of some sort, and typically an addiction. Now, what is an addiction? Well, the way that I and the group describe it is very simply, does it cause a problem in your life? Whether it's your life, your client's life, or somebody that you love, or somebody that you work with, or somebody that you live with. How do we deal with that? How do we help them? Well, many people, including much of the medical society, actually believes that this is a lack of willpower. The group says it couldn't be further from that. Most people who are actually addicted in some way are overachievers. They're very bright people for the most part. We think of addictions as alcoholism as being a bum in the street. That is not the case in most cases. Most of these people are actually very movers and shakers on this world that have the capabilities of doing a lot once they master the art of being able to know what they can do with this and how they can turn it. It's not a lack of willpower, and it's not about doing without. It's learning how to use the same attributes that many people want to eradicate from their life, but use them in a positive way. That's what the group showed me. The truth of the matter is, when I stopped drinking about 35 years ago, I went to AA, and I was convinced that this was the way that things were going to go. And I have to say, I still send people to AA. It's one of the structures that was able to help many people gain a new part of their life and gain control over their lives in some way. And I don't put it down or anything else, but I will tell you, it did not work for me after the group came in, because the group was all about empowerment. And what I became aware of is that I started having, even though I was sober and had a quality sobriety, I was losing a little bit of my relationship with my wife and my family, because I had actually switched my addiction from alcohol to Alcoholics Anonymous. And I started sponsoring people. I would spend every waking hour at some of the meetings that we'd go to, or working with the people that I sponsored, or start other meetings and so forth. And that's exactly the pattern that the group says. We typically switch addictions. So how do we find a way to where we can do this in a positive manner? That's the key. And that's what the group wants to work with us on. Now, I will tell you, this is a 3-day seminar. We will have a couple of activations during this time to help you gain trust in yourself enough to do this. There are physical addictions that we will talk about, and how some of the worst of these, the worst physical addiction that I've ever been through was cigarettes. Very simply, I smoked when I was younger, and that was probably the most difficult of the physical addictions. Now, the emotional addictions and some of the other things are quite a bit different, and we deal with them slightly different. But the trick is not to consider ourselves as bad people or wrong in any way. And it's certainly not a lack of willpower. I'll guarantee you that. Because I've got pretty strong willpower, but I couldn't fight many of these. But I learned how to use those attributes in different ways, and the group showed me, after I had quite a bit of sobriety already, I wasn't new to this, and the group showed me what this was about. Well, for years I've kept quiet about this. I haven't said a thing because I didn't want to present something away in opposition to AA or some of the other things here. But now it's time. The reality is we become addicted to so many things. Many people are addicted to their computers. Many people are addicted to technologies. You can't shut off your cell phone long enough to have a vacation. So how do we turn that into something positive? We think it's a drive. We think it's a focus. But it's really an addiction in many ways, or compulsive behaviors. So rather than try to cure ourselves of these, how do we use those attributes in a positive way? That's what this seminar is about. This seminar is not going to be completely done in channel because Steve has a lot to say about this. It's all about information from the group, and the group will be channeling for probably about 30 to 40% of this seminar. But Steve's also going to do a lot of talking here, because especially since I had to learn so much. Because after about 15 years of sobriety, I started to channel the group. And when I started channeling the group, I couldn't go back to the old ways of thinking about this. And the old things weren't working for me anymore. They were talking about empowerment in all new ways. So that's what we're going to do. And I hope to give you some new tools about how to learn to use your highest attributes where they don't cause problems in your life, where you can actually use everything you were given in a new way and learn how to find and choose your addictions very carefully. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, today I'm addicted to a few things. I'll be right up front and tell you all about it. I'm addicted to my wife. Absolutely. I'm addicted to this work. Now, does it cause a problem in my life? If it causes a problem in my life, I need to switch addictions for a while. I need to move in a different area and not focus quite so much. And once I learn those patterns, it's not a problem in my life anymore. It's a positive attribute. And that's what I'd like to share with everybody. A new approach. And whether you have addictions yourself, whether you're working with people, because most of you are healers and teachers anyway, and you're going to be dealing with this from time to time, I'd like to let you know quite a bit about a new way of looking at this and a new way of thinking. And I can only hope that the medical community would also turn around a little bit. It's really sad sometimes to see the thinking there, because they really do believe it is a lack of willpower. And I'm not talking about everybody, but I'm talking about in general. Even though it's classified as a medical disease, alcoholism, drug addiction, and so forth. And I'll tell you all the things that I've experienced and what to watch for, and some of the really difficult ones and some of the easier ones. We'll share it all. I welcome this opportunity to not only tell you my side of the story and what happened to me, but also what the group says about it and how they basically gave me a whole new view of this. Come join us for the addictions and compulsive behaviors, how we can use this for mastery. Here we go. A spavo, everyone.